Hi, I'm Chris Southworth. I'm Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce here in the UK and also Director of the new Secretariat for the APPG on Trade and Export Promotion. That's the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Trade and Export Promotion. I'm delighted to speak today at the GTR UK 2020 virtual and to have the chance to talk to Lord Waverley, JD, as he's commonly known, about the initiative, and hopefully share some insights with all of you about what we're trying to do with the APBG, what the focus areas will be and what the thinking is behind it. So JD, maybe I'll come to you as the driver behind the whole initiative. You're the person who came to us asking for input, which I am entirely grateful for, because I think it's really opened up an enormous opportunity. What was the thinking behind the APBG? What's the driving force behind it?
For a country such as ours, which is a great trading nation, it is surprisingly how little is understood about the importance of trade. And so really this has all come about as an initiative, recognizing the sovereignty of Parliament, recognizing that we have a role to play. It is to set up what is known as a All-Party Parliamentary Group, and it's called Trade and Export Promotion, to engage with members of the House of Commons, MPs and peers, to work together with the country at large and to engage with government, to encourage them to come up with the sort of strategy and policies which are going to stand us in good stead as we go forward. You know, we are entering now a comprehensive strategy for a new beginning, Chris. 40 years now, we're having to sort ourselves out in quick order. But the countdown to a new chapter in our history has indeed now arrived. There is still a degree of uncertainty because we as yet don't know whether we are leaving with or without a deal. But irrespective of that, as important as though it is absolutely essential that parliamentarians, through the mechanism of select committees, of course, which have a role, the ministers, of course, have a role, but also parliamentarians at large, recognizing the sovereignty of Parliament and the role of Parliament. But the time has now come to take stock as to what does and does not work for trade. Build back better and look at issues with fresh eyes, bring an inclusive approach to finding solutions to the challenges that we all face as a country. And if you'd allow me, Chris, just to say that a great endeavor has been made to ensure that all 4 quarters of the kingdom are playing an active role in our endeavors. And for that, we have officers of the group who come from the 4 regions. Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and of course the regions of England.
This importance of this issue of inclusion, we'll come back to that in the conversation. I just want to share the spirit of this group as well. For those that aren't as close to it as we are, not only do we have a terrific group of officers, MPs, lords and ladies who are really guiding us from the parliamentary side, we also have an incredible supporter network of business organizations, unions, consumers, academics, NGOs, and civil society groups. But the spirit of shared endeavor is something I've never seen before. I mean, it really does feel that we've come to a convergence point, a sharing of minds. And it's been extraordinarily easy working together with you, JD, to put plans together, to convene people, to enable everybody to have a voice at the table. It really does feel like something different is happening, and that's really encouraging and motivating and inspiring, actually, to see the UK get its house in order in this kind of way. What are the key areas of focus, JD, that we're going to be looking at through the APPG?
First of all, Chris, we must recognize that trade policy should transcend politics. And what I find is, or what I feel, what I sense in the UK is we need to close out on the various bubbles that make up our country. And whilst export-driven activities is a key to our future, that we need to regroup, I think, as a country, and to bring all the different bubbles together, sort ourselves out, get into a working relationship, and that includes with parliamentarians, so we can go out with our heads high in what is referred to as a global Britain. But Chris, as you know, we have 4 principal themes of our activities to start. To initially consider matters relating to trade policy. Secondly, trade promotion. Thirdly, investment issues. And fourthly, trade finance. And I should, of course, recognizing GTR, this is a GTR event, I should put trade finance at the beginning. But anyway, but it really does need the expertise that exists in our country, and including all those that are here present at this conference, to weigh in amongst yourselves and with us and with everyone else, so that we can come up assisting government with devising the right sort of policies going forward that's going to stand us in good stead in an inclusive spirit, Chris.
Yeah, let's pick up on this point of inclusion as to why it's so important. I mean, I've had the fortune of being part of many conversations over recent weeks with all manner of businesses of all sizes around the world, and it's coming up over and over again, the need to rebuild trust. Even further than that, there's a need for a new philosophy around trade, recognizing that the issues that we're facing are not just trade related, they're much bigger, they're much more sort of macroeconomic in many ways, with climate change and population demographic change, technology, of course, and COVID is just amplifying all of it. But there's a real sense that we can't any longer look at trade through a single lens. We have to now look at it from a range of different perspectives in order to get the right policy solutions in place. And in the context of trade negotiations and deals, that's particularly important because we want to do deals quickly, we want to do deals well, but we also want to make sure that everyone has had a voice. So when we get to those difficult points, which always come at the end of any negotiation, we're not going to all be at each other's throats at the end. We're a team. It's a team effort supporting government in the negotiations. What is your sense from a sort of parliamentary side? Is inclusion seen as something that's important? Is it seen as something that's sort of crucial to how we move forward?
Chris, it's an absolute imperative. And we in Parliament represent and must represent the voices and regions up and down our nation. And so Parliament can and must provide oversight, holding the government to account, but in a way that builds confidence and trust. And this is a unique opportunity to rebuild our economy. You know, our trading links, in a way in which our trading links are in a better, fairer, and more sustainable way. You know, I had the pleasure to speak to, for example, the trade union movement recently, and it gave me great pleasure to do so, and to then moving on from there to the other areas, but also the regions. I mean, particularly encouraging those in Scotland who have views about their future. But trade, nevertheless, does bind us together and should do. And we can't be isolated. We must be working together on all these things. And I think it is for Parliament to establish a lead and to encourage this inclusiveness, and to bring everyone together as equal players, to assist government, who are the ultimate decision makers, in negotiating in the best interest of the country at large.
Yes, it's a really interesting conversation, isn't it? I mean, I've had the fortune of sitting in town hall sessions with consumers, listening to the unions, civil society at large as well. And it's really interesting how there is a real consensus that trade isn't necessarily about cheap goods anymore coming in. There is a real sense that, you know, it's about decent jobs, it's about workers' rights, it's about the standards of the food we eat, the standards of the products we buy. And of course, we can't do that on our own as a business community. We have to do that alongside our partners from other areas of society and the economy, but also important for business to play a stronger role in its collaborations with government and wider stakeholders. So, I think that thought that you've shared there is very much mirrored outside government as well, and that's sort of really sort of gelling the dynamic between us all. It's a very exciting space, very innovative space. So, what does success look like in a year's time, Janie? I mean, there's
before just touching on that, I mean, there are gaps. I mean, there is plenty of work that needs doing, Chris. And actually, on discussions with decision makers, I think that they are encouraged by the activities we're doing. Anything that can help weigh in to come up with solutions for them. I mean, there are gaps in trade governance. I think it's unquestionable that exists. We must question the strategy of government, and we need to take into account the policy gaps in skills and capabilities. And as you rightly said, Chris, bringing in the voices of business, unions, academics, NGOs, and civil society all into the heart of the national debate. And this is surely what it's all about. And as to how we can judge our success, we formed the group just a matter of, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, wasn't it, Chris?
Feels like a long time ago.
I mean, we've covered a lot of ground and made. And I was just talking, for example, to a bilateral all-party parliamentary group. We as a trade group need to interact. We shouldn't be reinventing the wheel, but working in partnership with our colleagues who make up the bilateral all-party parliamentary groups, and let them be the gateway into the relationships with their opposite numbers as parliamentarians and beyond. So that is something which we need to work in. But specifically, we've got a program of activities through 2020, which is more about the establishment and setting up of the group, which includes a website. It includes doing a newsletter, which will be put online and cover the various regions of the country. We are going to be working up a program of evidence sessions on a regular basis and feeding them in. And I'm encouraging that government might wish to observe these so they can take away any messaging that they may have. But I think specifically, we would like to establish ourselves as being a representative voice on trade, firmly establish that. We want to demonstrate to the country at large that we in the All-Party Parliamentary Group do have and are a useful link with decision makers, and not just the decision makers. By that I also mean the main opposition parties. We mustn't forget our friends in that regard, because they all need to come to the table. I'm an independent member, as you know, Chris. I'm totally apolitical, but just try and bring everyone together is something that one just strives for. So I've mentioned about evidence sessions, and we're going to cover the 4 themes that I've outlined: the trade finance, the trade policy, the trade promotion, and investment. And also recognizing that we're hosting the G7 in this upcoming year. I think we should be looking to establish a program, not just with the G7, but multilaterals around the world. The Commonwealth particularly is one where you could imagine the shared association that we have with the 50 plus countries of the world is something that we should be encouraging. I went to Nairobi for a Commonwealth SME summit, where the Secretary General, Patricia Scotland, Baroness Scotland, was in attendance. So clearly the Commonwealth have a program of activities for activities amongst themselves, of which we're of course a part of, but also our link with the Commonwealth. So there is a tremendous amount to do. Would it be helpful if I just said a word about some of the activities? For example, we are placing questions down to Parliament on a regular basis. And this is an opportunity to allow government to express what its views are on some quite testing questions. And they're available up there. And I think you at the Secretariat are making the responses known, correct, Chris?
Yeah.
We need to work out how to strengthen the private sector. What is the role of government in the manner of things? Is government doing the right task? Should some of those tasks be better placed with the private sector? The chamber movement, all important chamber movement, the trade associations, what is it that they need to strengthen their activities? Areas such as trade policy, negotiations, strategic sector support, and capacity building is all in this mix. So hopefully we'll be together in a year's time, Chris, and you're still talking to me, but who knows?
Those that don't know, JD and I are on the phone pretty much from sort of 4 o'clock in the morning, anything up to midnight.
Absolutely. And I forgot to say it was a 3-way call we had at 4 o'clock in the morning. Just to think that it's not just you and me. We got Jordan out of bed as well to have a progress call. But anyway,
we clearly need to get a life outside trade, I think. But we had a very special moment in Parliament, for those that didn't catch it, with Lord Jerry Grimstone formally endorsed the group. Can you just sort of just illustrate what happened that day? Because there were a number of speakers, one of which was yourself, Lord Jerry Grimstone, then endorsing the group. I think it was a big milestone for all of us. Just tell us the meaning.
I think it was absolutely. I mean, Andrew Lansley, Lord Lansley. I mean, he came up trumps. He put forward an amendment to the trade bill that would encourage government to make account of itself and to broadcast its successes to the various groups within the UK. And it's not normal, frankly, that one would at committee stage get the result that he did. But he did. He was looking, though, for a report every year, but settled for every 2 years. But it was a tremendous. So Lord Grimstone was in his place on the front bench representing government and conceded this was a useful initiative. And so one down and quite a few more to go, Chris, I can tell you. But can I just say that we need to have the input from all those here present, for instance, at the GTR review conference. And I would propose, Chris, that you be the gateway possibly into the various organizations thinking, because everyone would benefit, main opposition, but also government who have to represent our best interests around the world.
Yeah, on that note, just to say to everyone at the conference, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, to get the chance to kind of share a little bit of the insight as to what's going on in Parliament. For anyone who wants to communicate or follow what we're doing, we're on Twitter at APBG Trade. You can also email us, secretariat@appbgtrade.uk. We're going to be picking up on a lot of the issues that you all recognise, whether that's legal reforms or talking about the role of trade and climate change, the role of trade governance, and how do we bring these voices together around trade policy, as well as the more sort of traditional activities of looking at investment and trade promotion and wider aspects of the trade agenda. But it's really about bringing all the different aspects of trade together now, looking at them in comprehensive form, so that we really develop a wide strategy, a strategic focus. Skills has come up a lot, actually. We haven't mentioned that today, but the need to help educate, raise awareness, build skills in all areas, not just in the private sector, but in Parliament too, government too, and wider society. And I hope that the APPG is a positive contribution on that front as well. So thank you very much, everybody. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event and wish you all the best. And do get in contact with us, and hopefully we'll see you in the new year when we start doing evidence sessions, and we'll have you at the panels with us. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Chris. And just finally, if you'd allow me, just to re-emphasize what I said at the beginning, this is a team endeavor, and the time has come to cast the divisions aside and to work together for the common good. I can't underline that enough. Thank you very much, Chris. Take care, bye.